Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Good evening. How we doing today, everyone? Good. I hope you are all well. How we doing? Good afternoon. Ooh, a good question. Who do you think will have a better impact, Cunha or Mbeumo? Interesting. I think that Cunha will have more impact on the team, and Mbeumo will get more goals and assists. How about that? How we doing? Cardoso to Atleti about to be done. Guessing Anthony Batiste not that long as well. Yeah, good point. Yeah, how we doing now, everybody? We doing good today? Are we finally linked to a? You know what's funny, Hamza, is I knew like you or Issa, and I knew exactly the crowd that would be excited by that link, and I would put so much money that most people looked him up 5 minutes after that link and have never actually watched him. But he sounds like your technical midfielder type, so everybody's going to be happy about it. Not saying he's not a good player, but he might be. But yeah, very, very funny. 150,000 a week for Mbeumo. Yes, indeed. Um, but yes, thank you guys. How you doing? How are we today? You just finished watching my earlier video? Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's things started moving. I'm happy. This is kind of like what you expect. He reminds me of Vitinha. Yeah, of course you like. Exactly. He's just a little small player who get bullied in the Premier League. Stuart starting it off with 10 gifted membership. The early bird gets the worm. Let's go. There you go. For all of you who come in early, are here right when the schedule starts, when that notification pops, you get a chance at a membership from Stuart there. Thank you, Stuart, so much. You are the man. Appreciate that so much. I have to give a massive thank you to somebody this morning. I apologize because now I'm going to find the name. Who left a 99 pound tip or like donation on the video this morning. Let me find it. And I just like it's there publicly to see. It's a super thanks from David Patton. Thank you. I gotta give special mention to that because that's crazy. 99 pounds for me, 100 pounds basically for me. Thank you, David. If you're here, I really appreciate that support. That's unbelievable. That's incredible. And it was just a comment on the video this morning. The earlier video, we left it as a thank you on there. So that's insane. That's the 99 came from SCG. That's wild. But really, thank you for that. And thank you, Stuart, and thank you to everybody. It did show up twice. I have no idea because YouTube keeps all your money until way later on. So I genuinely have no idea. I hope he didn't duplicate it by accident if there was. But there you go, Jason, again with another 10 as well, following Stuart's 10 gifted membership. So there's some more people getting it. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. You want wait to see my donation if we sign Joker. Oh man. Yeah. Wait to see if we sign maybe you meant 99. Yeah, maybe. So Johnny Cardoso deal between Atletico Madrid and Real Betis will be sealed in the next 24 hours. The two clubs are finalizing worth over 30 million euros. That should help us with Anthony. So this is good. There's a lot to discuss, a lot of things happening. It's my son in the other room with a credit card. That would be funny. He's going to waste 100 quid dono on an Ugarte shirt. No, I'm not. I'm definitely going to use that. How close is close, though? It is suddenly real quiet. Quiet is good. What, did Jamie Jackson just say something as we went live? Because Barcelona, there you go. How many times have I said this, eh? How many times have I said this? I'm going to pull this article up. New piece from Jamie Jackson. Okay? I'm going to pull this up. There's a lot to talk about. I want to get into it. So I'm just going to put this up. I'll speak about Mbeumo first. Then I'm going to go to Rashford. Then I'm going to talk about Sancho, Anthony, because our outgoings are kind of cooking. We might actually be cooking on the outgoings. We might be cooking. Not in the office today. I recorded my video today, came home, had some stuff to do. So yeah, that's that. But thank you guys for getting here. We're getting going. Make sure to like the video as you come in here. All of that, and then let's get into the Mbeumo stuff. Just not Garnacho. Isn't that funny, huh? How's he ended up with the least interest of anybody? No, but anyway, I'm not gonna be mean. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, even we've heard about Rasmus Højlund and Inter from Fabrizio in the last 24 hours. That they're still talking. There was a story on that too. Hang on, I need to make my notes because I actually want to get to it and I don't want to get super distracted. So while people are still filing in, and they are, the thingy on the YouTube still shows lots of people joining. So just give me 2 seconds to make my notes. That way, once I get going, I can actually stay organized on this. Just give me like 2 seconds. Mbeumo. I want to talk about Anthony, Rashi, Sanchi, Højlund, and then a striker that comes. Ooh, and then the midfield. Maybe there's a couple interesting pieces of little small reports out there about the midfield, aren't there? That'll make people really happy. It will make me so happy. You know what would make me so happy really quick before I get into it? You know what would make me so happy? Is if we were to actually be in for Ndidi. It would make people so, you know how much piss it would boil to buy literally an older version of Manuel Ugarte. Oh my god, it would be so funny. It would be so funny. Oh my god, it would make me so happy. It would make me so happy. I don't even want Ndidi to be quite honest. I don't even want Ndidi, but all right, I'm just gonna take a little victory lap on that Barcelona Rashford thing, and then let's get started. All right, here we go. Let's do it. That would be your 13th reason, exactly. But I would love that. That would be hilarious. But that's cool. All right, Mbeumo. So on Mbeumo, as we understood yesterday, with the bid going in or the new offer going in, my understanding of that situation is that it was bringing us closer to a deal, to a point where we could very likely just engage in talks over the minutia of the deal, engage in talks over, some of the breakdowns, the small details, the things that don't tend to stop a deal like this. Things like, the payment terms of, 3 years or 4 years, 5 years or 4 years, things like that. We'll get to Rashford in a second. Those types of things, and also like add-ons. I covered this in this morning's video that it would, there's always other little things too that we can, generally play with a little bit. Like, is it 30 goals or 20 goals? Is it 50 appearances or 35 appearances? Little negotiations there, back and forth. And they were pretty much totally, all wrapped up in the idea that, guys, I see the Rashford brief. Trust me. Look, I've said this for weeks now. I was just arguing with KG about it on Monday on the red carpet that they're still interested in Rashford after Nico Williams. That is still on the table. So we don't worry about that. I know. We'll cover that article. We'll cover that story in a minute. I know that it's true. That has been the position for some time, and why I keep saying, Barcelona. It may be a loan though, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it, guys. We'll get to it. I promise. Right. So again, on Mbeumo, the offer was close enough that we could get into the minutia. Minutia is minutia. It means the details, the little things, all of that. And basically, what that means is we're talking about all of the little stuff, that make a deal happen, right? All the little stuff that make a deal happen. And when it gets to that stage, the likelihood of a deal extremely high at that point in time. These are the things that tend to not stop deals. These are the things that tend to make deals go through. These are the things that tend to happen. As of today, as I understand it, there was a little report that came from like a Brentford side journalist. That's right. It's, again, the overall package is good. The base fee is good. We're at like a good point there. My understanding on that is that the base fee is good. The overall fee is pretty good. There's just, and look, those things can change a little, right? You work out like, all right, if it's a +5 or a +5 +2, what are the details of those add-ons? Are we asking for Champions League qualification 2 years in a row? Then the 5 million are triggered and they're saying, hey, 1 year, we want that 5 million. It's stuff like that. So they're trying to just get the add-on slightly easier, but and that's why it's quiet, is essentially more often than not, once it hits this point, once it's quiet like this, it just means things are talking. People are talking. And that's what you want. That's what you want to hear at this stage is that those things are not happening. Those things are that those talks are happening, that those discussions are happening, that those things are all working together towards getting that final deal kind of done and all the details. Like, you remember the Cunha thing? It was like we agreed to pay it, and then it was like, hey, if we want 5 installments, no, we actually want 3. We want this, and then it was done like a few hours later. It's that's close. We're not quite there, but we're almost to that point where it's like the final things. So everybody feels good about this. I think everybody feels really good about this. I cannot say for sure that it's that 55 + 5 that was in that report, but the situation described is for sure accurate. The situation described of, basically just discussing over the nature of those specific add-ons is, the reality of it. Second. So that is good. So we're on our way with that, and I think that we are getting very, very close on this. Any day now that'll break. I mean, and it could be any hour, it could be any minute, it could be any day. We could get to that, but it looks like it's at a point where you don't worry much about it anymore, and it's like it's time for the little things. You're not like waiting days in between. You're just working out the small details and all of that. So very excited on that front in general. So yes, so that's that on Mbeumo. Now we can talk about Marcus Rashford. If you've been following, you know that this is not a brand new piece of information for what it's worth. This is not really brand new information. I get that there's seemingly some kind of brief around here about Rashford. It looks like, good Lord, how many articles are there? We got a new one on Sancho too. Sancho is moving. Sancho to Fenerbahce is starting to heat up. Sancho to Fenerbahce is starting to heat up as well. Is definitely pushing forward. I think that is that one has serious potential. Sancho to Fenerbahce is one of the ones I wanted to discuss there, but definitely one of the ones I wanted to discuss there. So let's talk about Rashford. Let's look at this story really quick. I need to tweet. It is what it is. I've said it a billion times. It's like, it's fine. Everybody knows, if they follow me, that I've talked about this so many times, and that's all good. I know the people who know me, who follow my stuff, that's what matters to me. All right. Barcelona keen on loan move for Marcus Rashford, even if Nico Williams arrives. Manchester United's players' versatility and asset. Flick believes Rashford will enhance his options. Barcelona are eyeing a loan move with his versatility across the front line. And this has been the point. Even if they're signed, they think Rashford could help. He can play wide. He can play in the number 9. He can do kind of all sorts of things. And as we know, Marcus Rashford really does want to go to Barcelona, right? We've kind of known that for some time. That's his priority. That's what he wants to do. That's where he's going. Like that's what he's been holding out for. And the fact of the matter is, they've been interested in him since before. Since before all of this, they've been interested in him for years. They've been interested, and they're following it, even if they sign Nico Williams. Now, they are very likely, again, I covered this real recently, going to hold our feet to the fire a bit on this and try and force a loan on it so that they don't have to pay a purchase price now. They will likely want to offer us a loan with an option. I think United will probably end up accepting it, to be quite honest, as long as the full wages are covered. He does well, they're going to want to buy him. It is what it is, you know. The wages being covered, that's the main factor that we need. That helps us the most. That's going to make the biggest difference. It does matter where Rashford wants to go because he doesn't have to accept every single move on the planet. There's no way, you can't force players to sign elsewhere. It will help United to a degree if he goes on loan. Remember, $300,000 a week is quite a lot by way of wages. We also owe him $45 million in wages. You do understand that, right? We owe him $45 million in wages. We owe him a lot of money. I've shared before, even if we sell him, there's a high likelihood that we will have to pay off a big chunk of those wages on his contract because we gave it to him and it's our contract and every player's entitled to it kind of regardless. And he has 3 more years. Okay. So he's not like Sancho right at the end. He's not right at the end of his deal. He's owed a lot of money from United. So yeah, a loan matters. If then there can be an option at the end, then if they buy it at that time, then that would be, great. So we'll see. Ideally, obviously, if we got a sale or an obligation in there, fine. But regardless, one way or another, if we can get him out and out on loan and get those wages off, then it will help us and it will be beneficial and it's what we need. It will free up funds and it gets, Rashford back in the limelight. If he plays somewhere at like Barcelona and he's there and he's out, then that makes a difference. Funny how this news comes out as soon as we see Ansu Fati. Here we go. Well, the reason, that was one of the reasons why, again, that was one of the things that held him up even in January from going to Barcelona is they had Fati still on the books. And that was really, a factor in that. Thank you for the donation, Shaifo. If you have a message, send it through afterwards. But yeah, so it seems like they're making some space and then they can get Rashford in the door. So this one is another one that is moving. All these sales, man, they're starting to cook. They are starting to percolate. They're starting to move. That's what we need. This is such a big deal for us. So yeah, there you go. So that's good. The next one I want to talk about. So this is looks like it's got a serious potential. Percolating FC, serious potential. This Rashford thing. I'm gonna make this poll to get some more. There's 1,252 people in here, 183 likes. Come on, guys. Add more. More likes. After Ansu Fati, I think that they could. Is it a loan with obligation? I don't think so, but we won't know exactly what they can offer until later. Any truth in Casemiro? Yesterday when I asked, it's Saudi side. So grain of salt always on everything. But when I asked the guy a guy who I message regularly to check in and ask like if Saudi news is good or not, he said probably not on the Casemiro thing. There's no way to back it up, and most of the things are negative, are saying probably it's not true on Casemiro for Al Nassr. The thing that's going on with Al Nassr is their entire what do you call it, structure is changing. Their entire executive team is changing. Everything is changing, and they really don't have the potential ability. I mean, they're still looking at players and all of that, but they don't have, it's kind of unclear what they're even doing right now because they're in a bit of chaos. When would they say to Gyökeres it's now or never and look for other options? I would say in July. Maybe like around when the players are returning or just before that, make a push or completely walk away. At the same time, I think we will only do it once we have someone to walk away to. If we had something to walk away to, I think we will. Until then, even though we want to, why walk away? I guess it could be like a final negotiation play to say it's now or never, see if we can push him like we did with Ruben Amorim. Like maybe with Lenny Yoro, we reached a point where we did that. Maybe we go throw the money at Sporting, agree a fee with Sporting, and try and say, this is on the table. You can wait for Arsenal and maybe they never come, or you can join us. We might do something like that. I would say the way we would do it would probably be to agree a deal with Sporting or something and show them we're serious. We have the money. We can make a deal. If we decide to do that, that might be the way to do it. That might be the way that it's done. So on Antony, that one is obviously moving. As Laurie confirmed in the deal sheet this morning that Antony was the most advanced in terms of outs, closest to leaving the club. As I've talked about a lot recently, there's been a lot of discussions between the clubs. There's been a lot of, mixing things up as to see what kind of deal would work. He's willing to lower his wages. Everybody involved wants this deal to happen and is interested in it and pushing for it and turning down other deals and things like that. So, it looks like this one's going to happen. Now, Johnny Cardoso moving from Real Betis to Atletico, giving them some money, could very well be a domino in this. I don't know their financial situation. Do they need to wait for July 1st? I mean, it's international anyway, so we might not hear till July 1st when the international window is open. But that could certainly be a domino effect on this whole thing in terms of pushing them, giving them the money to buy Antony. They'll have 30 million euros, so at minimum, hopefully they can offer us something like that, maybe in a more structured sense or something too, if that works for them. But this one has a really, really, really good chance of happening. I think it will. I really do. I've said that for a while. That's been my feeling. I've not heard anything to indicate anything but positivity on the idea of Antony moving to Real Betis in this window, and it looks like that's happening. So good news there. It seems like the Antony situation is kind of heating up on Betis. Now, the Spurs do have some weird thing on Cardoso. I don't quite understand. Doesn't Emi Martinez contradict signings policy, overpaying salary and wage for an older player in decline? Give me Nick Pope as an older keeper any day. Well, to be fair, we don't know what wages he's actually asking for, right? But look, this is what we were talking about. Maybe it was Sunday, maybe it was Friday, something like that. We're talking about how the idea is to have two keepers, that work, two keepers that function. If Onana leaves, you want an older keeper and a younger keeper to play with them. If Onana stays, you still want probably a younger keeper to come in. But maybe if he's only 25 million, and if maybe he would accept lower wages because he seems to really want to play for United, then it makes a little more sense. But we don't know what his wages are. Maybe they're not high. Maybe they're not high at all. Maybe he's not going to ask for much to play for United. We don't know. Maybe the agent's still just pushing it a little more than it is, in terms of solidity, and we haven't even progressed to the point of discussing it. But maybe he'd be so desperate he would play for less. Maybe. King Ragnar, Ekatike, Mbeumo, Cunha before preseason would be unreal. Sell Anthony, Sancho, Garnacho soon with Rashford going alone. Hope for Hackney and a goalkeeper. Sure, that would be fantastic. That would be incredible. Can you do a video once most players have left looking at the wage structure in PSR? I sure can, IR. That's a very good idea. Maybe I can do one that shows like where, like up to like where we started summer, where we're ending summer, because I think even with our purchases, we'll end up ahead of where we started in summer, and I think that would be pretty cool to see. But once we reach the end, or at least a little later on, then we can definitely do that shortly. So we'll get to that. What are your thoughts on Jashari? I have no idea. I do not pretend to have watched a single minute of Belgian football. I presume that's where he's playing. So I saw a couple clips of him once it was posted. He looks like a small, like people said, Vitinha type of player. Don't know anything else about him. I don't think it's I don't think it's necessarily the type of player that we'd be looking for. If we're looking for an athletic number 8, an athletic midfielder, I think we would be looking for someone bigger. But that's just I don't know. I mean, João Neves is athletic. He's not big. How would he fare in the Prem? I don't know. But, he's, regardless, I'm not sure. And I don't know anything about him. So, in terms of that link, I don't know anything about that link either. So, yeah, guess we'll see. He seems like a good footballer. I'm sure he's talented. I don't know anything about it. Buati we can't sign now. We'd have to sign later. But certainly somebody that I'm sure is on people's radar. So, yes, moving on to Jadon Sancho. Hello, Money. Moving on to Jadon Sancho and the questions and what is going on with Jadon Sancho. So, obviously, he's continuing to have discussions with Napoli, but Fenerbahce are making a very, very strong push for Jadon Sancho today. They've had multiple conversations. They've been, working on this deal. It's very much heating up that Fenerbahce are coming in for him pretty strongly. One of the advantages that we have with something like Fenerbahce is that they can offer a bit more significant wages. And from what it sounds like, they're going to be offering a lot closer to the wages that he's getting now, minus CL, not quite as high, but closer to it, and certainly better than what he's probably getting offered elsewhere. So this is moving forward quite strongly. On the Fenerbahce front. It seems really promising. It seems very positive. They're putting the deal on the table for him. Now, my understanding is that Jadon Sancho would rather prioritize a move to Napoli or Juventus if possible, from a football standpoint, to stay in one of the top leagues and to play there, and he's continuing to have more discussions with them. But, however, we've seen him prioritize the money as well. So I think that he's very likely going to be weighing up, where does Napoli reach on their financial offer? How close is it? And is it worth the jump in money? But the really good news is, with Fenerbahce coming in strong, it means there's an option on the table that can give him what he wants financially, that can give him what he wants money, and a manager who's pushing pretty strongly for him, and Jose Mourinho, it seems like. So that would make a huge difference, and it seems like the fee won't be a problem. 15 to 20 million. Oh man, it would do so much for us, getting that 15 million off the books this year, wiping that out, getting the wages gone. Huge for us. So yeah, this is a moving, a very, very active situation on Jadon Sancho, where he very likely will get a move to one of these clubs. There are more talks scheduled with Napoli. They might push a little harder for him. But it seems like there's an option for money and there's an option for Napoli, and maybe there's going to be, and if the gap is small enough, he might pick Napoli. But I don't. That's just a guess. That, of course, we have no idea right now. As I would understand it, he would maybe prefer Napoli, but I wouldn't say. I think he would just prefer to go to a bigger club and get paid the same. So it's hard to say, does he prefer? Because it seems like he just prefers money. He could have stayed at Chelsea. So I don't know. Prefers maybe the wrong word. Like, obviously, if you had to choose Madrid for 500,000 a week or Everton for 500,000 a week, you would pick Madrid. No doubt. So I don't know. It is what it is in that respect. But competition is good. It makes the chances of him leaving exponentially higher when there are actually clubs in for him. It seems like at least some of his performances and things, especially in Europe too, where he actually performed decently well in the Conference League, is probably encouraging to a number of clubs out there that he can do it in other leagues outside of England. So it seems like this one is a happening thing. So we're going to keep an eye on that, but that seems to be moving forward on Sancho pretty nicely to the Turkey. The Turkey one is heating up. They're making a big push. They might be really, really trying and just get a deal done for him quick. And it'll either force Napoli's hand or it won't. But either way, that seems like a win. Either way, that seems like a win for us, That definitely seems like a win for us. Any news on Malacia? I don't have any news on Malacia. We always forget about him, talking about him leaving, but he's probably going to leave. I mean, he's definitely not. He's not really in the plans, but yeah. So that's 3 of our huge sales. I mean, let's add this up. I've got Anthony. We get his costs off, 17 million plus 7 million. Rashi, we get his loan off, that's 15 million. Sancho is 15 million plus 12 million. So let's do some math here. That's 24 plus 15 plus 17 equals 39, 46, 56 million. 56. See, I put it right there. My awful handwriting that you get to see. 56 million. We're closing in on potentially 56 million in yearly savings on players who don't even play for our club. That's mad. 56 million a year in savings on players who don't even play for our club. That's like half. That is probably Brentford's entire football budget, or half of Brentford's entire football budget is on players that we don't even play for us. That's wild, man. They don't even play for us. 56 million a year is it costing us. It's more than enough for a striker. A striker's not going to cost us 56 million a year. That's 280 million over 5 years. It's enough for Osimhen, but I doubt that means we're going to get him because that's sort of besides the point. But it is enough. It is enough. Victor Osimhen, even at extreme wages, would cost us like 35 million a year. Those fees don't just go away. No, they kind of do. Okay, I consider it based on amortizations. So 17 million a year for Anthony, 15 million a year for Sancho. If you get that payment in, you immediately wipe that fee out with that, and you save yourself 15 million. Antony, same story. So you immediately write it off against that, and then you're reducing your expense over the year. It's either way. You either keep the 15 million in expense and get a 15 million income. Either way, you've gained 15 million a year at that point in time compared to where you've been at. But no, they probably will not break our wage structure for Victor Osimhen, but they could. They could, and I wouldn't be unhappy about it. Let's put it that way. They could, and I certainly wouldn't be mad about it. Hang on, I just need to tag KG in that story about tag KG. I was just arguing with him about this Rashford thing on Monday and telling him, look, they still want Rashi after Nico Williams. So this is good stuff. This is good stuff. Aggregate. Dangerous tornado is heading to the stadium. What the fuck? Where's this game that's being canceled in who says tornado? There's a tornado somewhere where the Club World Cup is. Alright, got really distracted. Crazy weather in the US. Wait for the World Cup. My God, it's gonna be it's so hot, and summer in the US is wild. So having a World Cup next year, Club World Cup this year. Just be ready, man. But where is the game? Like, what state is that one in? What state is that one in? It doesn't really help me to know what state that one I'm talking about. I mean, what who's playing? I need to know what stadium it is. Charlotte? Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's tornado potential. Part of not like not massive amounts of tornadoes over there, but it certainly does happen. The weather gets pretty wild during summer. It is a brat summer, no doubt about it. It really is. The weather here has been wacky. All right. So we talked about Sanchi. We talked about Rashi. We talked about Antony. We talked about Mbeumo. It's Nashville. Oh, well, that's Tornado Central. Okay, that is Tornado Central. Nashville gets fuckloads of tornadoes, so yeah, that makes more sense. We talked about those. Let's talk about Rasmussen. Sorry. Rasmus Højlund. Talks continue between him and Inter Milan. Now, they're trying to move Taremi in order to make space for him. They want two strikers with Taremi leaving. There's interest from Taremi, so it seems like this one's probably going to have a little bit to run. Once Taremi moves, then it will open up more space for Rasmus, and it will seem like, and it'll make this more possible. It sounds like it's a bit of a, another kind of domino effect in this whole thing. They need to sell Taremi. Now, the thing that you have probably noticed in the last day or so is as we're closing in on Mbeumo being finished, suddenly everybody's like, well, actually, yes, United do want a striker, by the way. I was just noticing, did you guys notice that? Was it just me who noticed that? Like, I was reading the Athletics thing, and the narrative used to be like, there are people who think we could get by without signing a striker because we'll have the versatility of Cunha and Mbeumo, and then this morning it was like, actually, there's a lot of people connected to United who think we really do need a striker. And that Højlund could definitely still go. Luckhurst as well saying United do want to sign a striker. I think pretty much everybody says now and confirms we do want to sign a striker. I've never walked away from that piece of information on my side that we've wanted a striker all along. Yeah, we've wanted a striker all along. So striker seems to be the next is doesn't seem to be. It should well be the next thing. But we're keeping an eye on those goalkeepers and such as well, as that is definitely something we want to potentially address this summer if we can too. So there's been a lot of checks on goalkeepers as well. There's a couple, yeah, Fabrizio's been saying it for a while as well, 100%. There's a couple little, so on the striker front, Gyökeres and Ekitike are the confirmed names that we've checked in on. We know that. We kind of have discussed the plan many times, waiting it out, seeing where it goes. Once we make some sales, I could see us going to Sporting and saying, hey, let's make a deal, and then using that as a bit of pressure on Gyökeres. Maybe I could see that happening. It's something I could see happening. I could also see us moving to some other targets, and I'm still curious about it. I said this morning, this is my opinion, because I mean, my view on this is this way. Like, I think I have a somewhat of an understanding of how United operate at present and at past. Is that they can very much look at players that they've looked at before, that they like, that they have data on, and also, of course, do they fit? Now, we know United have been a little more focused on, like, hey, can we get some Premier League proven players, things like that this summer. Again, it was supposed to be last summer that happened, and then it didn't. But we're starting to do it now with Cunha and Mbeumo. Who can we get? And you think about the names, and you think about who's actually out there and who could come to the table. And we know, like, there was the Mateta thing where United have been interested in Mateta, but it looks like he really wants to stay at Palace. Oops, I accidentally clicked record. He wants to stay at Palace, but there was a reason for that too, right? That we wanted someone like Mateta. Who else is there? Right? Who else is there that's in the Premier League? Like, if we were to look at Premier League, want to get a sure thing, that's why I keep bringing up Watkins personally, because United were interested in him at one point. He's a good player. He's one potentially available this summer, and there is potentially a way you could make a deal work there. He also fits strongly into the type of profile. I think that's an important note, is the type of profile that he is. Remember, we kind of talked about that whole power forward thing and the runner and how he plays and all that. He strongly fits into that, and so that's why I kind of come back to it. He's a runner. Who else could it be? Who else could be there that United have actually looked at? I've seen suggestions over Rodrigo Muniz. Is he that type of player? Is he a guy who's making a lot of runs forward? Where is he? Have United ever been linked to him? I'm not saying that makes it impossible, but he's also only 24 with only 8 goals. He only had 964 minutes, to be fair, last season. But he's so unproven. I don't think that they would turn to a Rodrigo Muniz, okay? I don't think that they would, because he's another unproven kind of forward who has just not done it too much. Wissa, I don't think they're going to go back to Brentford to try to make a big signing. I don't think that'll happen because demands would be expensive. Kolo Muani is one to keep in mind in terms of just thinking about, yes, we've been interested in the past. Where has he been before? What has he done previously? All of that kind of stuff. Those types of things, right? Like, that's part of what I look at. They've been interested in the past, but you'd probably want to be ideally getting him on loan from was he Juventus now? I don't remember anymore, to be quite honest, where he's been going. Gonzalo Ramos could also come on offer to us too. We've been interested in him in the past, but it'd have to be a low risk thing. Kolo Muani's done well at Juventus. Yeah. I don't think we want to pay a lot of money for these players, so I'm looking at, like, those are like your down the list options. Maybe you could get, Kolo Muani has done well. Omolani's goals per minutes and goal contributions per minutes have been good pretty much everywhere he plays, to be fair. You know, it's about 100 minutes per goal contribution. It's not terrible. So Gonzalo Ramos, Watkins, you know, I'm looking for more proven players in that respect, guys who've done a couple of years. Ramos not super proven, obviously, either, to be fair, but you know, it's like either very low risk deals or they'd have to be quite proven. So we'll have to see where they turn after this. Ivan Toney, I mean, maybe. I don't know that they'd want to get a player who's been out of the league for a while now and out in a different place and everything. So yeah, well, I don't know. I frankly I do not know where this lands, but I do know they want a striker. We'll probably be looking for more strikers at this point in time. You know, to move things forward. So one second. Yeah, sorry, it's just yep. Cool. I was just messaging with somebody and just confirming some of the things I'd heard and said there on Sancho situation. But yeah, that one's really hot topic. That one's a really hot topic. So yes, so I can confirm some of what I said earlier. Double confirm, I should say, some of what I said earlier because I try not to say it unless I'm pretty sure. Um, so, sorry, things are so we'll see. We'll see. Look, I'm just looking to see if we go for some new links and things like that as well. Jackson from Chelsea. So here's an interesting one. We've seen with this Nkunku stuff, right? Now, remember I said yesterday, I tweeted out and put up this morning, United not really interested in Nkunku. They're not chasing Nkunku. They kind of hold an interest in Nkunku, but they're not actively trying to sign him. It's just something that that is believed that Chelsea would put forward to us again. We were not close to a deal for him before. We were not willing to come anywhere close to the price, all of that kind of stuff. And it's very unlikely that we would sign him at this point. But what about Nicholas Jackson? If it means Garnacho off. I'm not saying that we should do it, but I could certainly see that being another player that could potentially be offered to us by Chelsea should they be attempting to sign Alejandro Garnacho. That's something to think about as well if they want to come in for him. Because I think that it seems like Chelsea are going to hope if they come for Garnacho that they can sell somebody to us. That's kind of what it feels like. That's kind of what it feels like that we, um, at that time. Simonson said we never wanted Nkunku, not even in January. Well, I think that you can see things from different perspectives, and that's fair. United had discussions about it, about any potential swap between Nkunku and Garnacho, but the point was they didn't really want to do a deal for Nkunku at the time. At most, they were looking at a low risk type of thing, and they decided against it in the end. So yeah, from a perspective, you could say they never wanted him. They did engage enough to consider it, but decided against it at that time, and they would likely decide against it again. Stop with Chelsea. I mean, look, I don't disagree with you. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want necessarily to buy anybody from Chelsea. That feels like such a bait comment. I'm not gonna read that out. That feels like bait. Feels like um Openda. He showed up really well on the power forward thing, but yeah. Yeah, if I were to go to Chelsea and try to get something for Garnacho, it would be a midfielder. Because I think they've got a bunch of good young midfielders that could come in that don't have to start for us, that could learn in the role. And that's what I would go for from Chelsea. I think that would be a much, much better use of trying to get that comment. Yeah, that comment is definitely from a white man. 100% bait. It absolutely is. But yeah, I would definitely go for a midfielder from Chelsea. They've got a bunch of what I think are good young midfielders that I would really be open to that could help. Santos, Ugo Chukwu, two players I would take in a heartbeat to come into our midfield if we are trying to negotiate for some players over there. So yeah, but I would probably avoid the forwards in general. I'm not really rating any of their forwards particularly high at this point in time. It is crazy when you look at their team and look at their front three after everything is going to be like Pedro Neto, Delap, and like I don't know. Jamie Gittins after $1.5 billion spent. Gittins, Delap, and Neto as your front three. Good lord. Good lord. We think our business. That's why I'm always like, guys, Chelsea, just because they can just spend endlessly and keep buying players doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. It's just crazy. Will Šeško fit us? I don't think so. I don't think Šeško has been a recent topic for us. And the chase, it'll just drive the price up. We go in for him, similar to Ekitike. There's been a lot more reports, by the way, on Ekitike and Liverpool. It seems very much like Liverpool are in the lead for Ekitike, for sure. By the way, on Mbeumo, just a little bit, something I've kind of I heard, similar source to earlier, was that definitely the Tottenham thing was mostly bait, but somewhat true at the same time, like the interest. Mbeumo, the Mbeumo being a United fan, definitely a major factor in him joining us. Like a major factor, living out his dream in that. Like that helped us a lot when he was considering other clubs and we strongly came in for him. That helped us a lot. That he was actually a Boyhood United fan and all that, and that's real. So, might run out of United fans at some point to sign for competition, and we better get good quick before we run out of these types of players to sign. Because at some point that juice may, maybe it won't never. I worry that juice is going to run out someday, if we don't get good sometime soon. That definitely. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, interesting stuff. Now, on the midfield, we have started to get just a couple little links. Yeah, I mean, still in Africa, United are hugely popular, no doubt about that. It hasn't really changed. On the midfield, we're starting to get a little bit of links, aren't we? And I'm wondering if it's true or not. We got links to this young kid. I don't know anything about. We got links to Ndidi. Now, Ndidi is a player United did like previously, and would probably be available for virtually nothing. And he does fit the shin kicker mold that potentially we would want. So maybe there's truth in that one. We will see. But yeah, then there's Jashari, this young player. I don't know anything about that one. So I'm still waiting to see the links to the other midfielders that I've talked about. Indeed, he's only like 29, so isn't he? How old is he? Why do I feel like he's like 35? Like I feel like Indeed he's been around forever. How old is he? He's only 28. How is Indeed only 28 years old? There was like all this hype when he was like, when was he hyped? Was he like 22 when he was getting all this hype, and then by 25 he was apparently washed, and then now he's only 28 years old. I swear to God, he's like 35. Like, I've been hearing about Ndidi for such a long time. I've been hearing Ndidi's name for years and years and years, but I guess it makes sense. No, I'm not. No Nigerian tax or anything like that. It's just we've been hearing. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Don't do that. I'm saying we've been hearing about Ndidi since forever, and it seems like he got a lot of hype when he was really young. You know, um, it seems like he got hype when he was really young, and so then it fell off really quickly. I always thought he'd been playing for such a long time. He's one of those players that's like been around forever. That's all. I made my point very clear just because you guys did that. Um, I made my point very clearly. Could be a Casemiro replacement, but I don't think Casemiro's leaving. But no, shin kicker model, he's got the physicality to run. He wins tackles, all of that, but probably not ideal. We're getting like a little bit of links, but they're not substantial links. You know what I mean? They're nothing substantial. Yeah, I'm waiting for the big links. The guys we've talked about before, the Edersons, the Nemchas, the Chouamenis, the Anton Stacks links to come back, more Palhinha chat, more Hackney chat, more of those guys that I've covered in my videos that I know United have looked at. I'm waiting for those links to come back or something new that's like perfect, or Ugo Chukwu or something like that to pop up. That's what I'm waiting for to have us contact one of those guys. Even Douglas Luiz, I almost feel like is a bit more of an attacker. And I do feel like if we don't send Sancho over there, which seems a little less likely because the other options are stronger, that we may not get him. That we may not go in that way. Obviously, people are going to mention Vlahovic and Douglas Luiz from Juventus, two players that could kind of fit into a couple positions. But I right now would doubt we get either of those. But hey, I mean, do we turn to Vlahovic? Is he the right type of player? Does he fit the type of footballer that we want at the club? I do not know. He kind of does, but he's also not very good, isn't he? So yeah, there's always that. But look, I would take a number of them. I'm much less particular on the midfield thing. Much less particular on the midfield thing. Aston Villa need money. Why not go for Amadou Onana? Because I don't think they want to sell Amadou Onana. I don't think they want to sell Amadou Onana. I don't think they want to sell him. I think that they want to keep him. That's why I've mentioned like Ollie Watkins, for example, because I feel like he's a player who could actually be wanted to leave. Like they're not going to want to sell Rodgers, to get Garnacho. They want to strengthen. So I look at it like, who do they think maybe isn't in their plans in the future or who's maybe unhappy? That's why I thought of Watkins. I don't think they want to sell Onana. And to be honest, I'm not sure he'd want to join us. Let's be real for a minute. Given things. We tried to go for him before, but then he ended up at Villa. He may not be super happy with United after Rashford being there. You got Roz. Duran supposedly having issues in Saudi, and chance we could loan him would be a nice stopgap. They're not happy with the other. Well, yeah, I think it's something to think about. Something to think about because we have watched him in the past, so it's a name we can at least think about. But if he's got attitude issues or things like that, like you never know if that's always true. You know what I mean? But if that's the case, then so be it. His wages are an issue, things like that. Yeah. Chelsea want Morgan Rogers, but I don't think they want to sell Morgan Rogers. I don't think they want to sell their best players. So, yeah. So, all right. So, in summary, it's been busy. Things are absolutely kicking the fuck off, are they not? They are kicking the fuck off. Mbeumo, close. discussions over the natures of some of these little add-ons, but close. We're really close on this now, and it's looking really promising. Like we're headed towards a deal on Antony. Cardoso moving could be the thing that unlocks Antony. It might still be after July 1st, when they get a deal done. There's been a lot of talks. It's moving. This is one that I'm pretty optimistic happens, and they'll find the structure of a deal. Marcus Rashford, as I've said for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, Barcelona still want him regardless of Nico Williams. That's been reported at Barcelona side too, so it shouldn't be that surprising. Sancho, it is really heating up for Jadon Sancho. There's a number of clubs in for him. My understanding, his preference is Napoli. Would be more towards Napoli, but the money's better in Fenerbahce, and they're pushing very, very hard for him there. Højlund, definitely still in discussions over a move to Italy, but it seems that they'll probably have to move Taremi first, and that's fine, and that could get us there. That could push things kind of forward a bit. On the striker front, we definitely do want a striker. In the midfield, do we have anybody? We're keeping eyes on goalkeepers still, and I'm waiting for the midfield talk to kind of heat up a little bit. That we have not heard yet. And yes, there was an interesting message here. Garnacho, maybe Chelsea are going to come in for him for some point and offer somebody else besides Nkunku. Maybe they will. Don't know. Yeah, and then the other thing is, Mainoo's going to stay. I've been maintaining that for 6+ months. Mainoo, the intention is for him to stay at United, to find his place in the team, to get him working out. And you can see it. I talked about him getting as fit, as firing as possible, as totally in shape. He's been out. He's had injuries, had things like that. You see the pictures of him working out with Lenny? He looks like he's taking it fucking seriously to become an animal in the midfield. And yes, he wants to earn his place. He wants to, I think, perform better in order to get a better negotiation terms on his contract for him before he agrees to one. United ideally want him to stay and work his way in. They are very happy with his application, with his attitude, with everything about him, and know that he is an immense talent. So as I've said for 6 months, I believe Mainoo is not for sale. Everybody has a price, but he's really not one they're trying to sell, and I'm very strongly assured that he's likely to, I think he's going to stay. And there's been nothing about him leaving. There's been no talks. There's been no real discussions. There's been nothing really happening about Mainoo leaving. Now, there's one other thing. This is, and someone just mentioned this, and it is rather interesting. It is interesting because it's a little bit random. It is a little bit random. All right. It's not that random. Hang on a second. This is United's share price over the last some months, okay? So you can see it was pretty level. This huge jump. Look at this huge jump. This huge jump was the release of the second quarter financials when it looked like United were much more profitable. The huge stock rise based on the recorded financials, okay? Showing that United were in a much better state financially. That one makes sense. Then there's this one. Monday morning, the share price starts skyrocketing again and goes up another 12 to 15% into the $19 plus bracket. And I've said before, there's not too much you can read into on share prices. However, I am curious why it's rising this week. I understand the rise on the release of the third quarter financials because that means that's simple. Good finances equal the club's worth more money. The cuts, all the spending, the market loves the moves Ineos are making financially. That's what that means. Okay. This rise this week, I don't know. And why I'm very curious is because of talking about this meeting that I've been talking about. Talking about, that the point being that it might end up being discussed here. More, what comes next? What's the next phase of things? And the other thing that I've heard has been discussed at these recent executive meetings is sponsorships and additional potential sponsorships. So maybe somebody in the market knows something that I don't know, but apparently there was like a 475% increase in calls. So maybe somebody knows something. What the hell do I know? It's just interesting to me that it's rising unexplainedly this week, so heavily. And it started over the weekend. So it was while, bombs were being dropped. It was before the ceasefire. So I don't think that's the reason. But yeah, there was this, like I said, there's been discussions at the executive level. Budgets were discussed. Budgets have been worked out. I think that's helped shake things loose on Mbeumo. I think that's helped shake things loose on what comes next. And I think that, as I have heard it, there are certainly things that were discussed with regards to maybe new sponsorships or new commercial revenue streams. That's why they brought that guy in from PSG. We lost a couple sponsors, so I think we need to replace them. So we'll see if they agree on getting on getting anything like that as well. So we'll see there. I know that other things went up. It's just that United are often different in the market to other things. But the ceasefire was only the last day or two. The over the weekend, there was a bunch of calls over the weekend or Monday, even before. But I guess it is only Tuesday. I could be wrong, but from my understanding, a lot of it happened over the weekend. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it means nothing. But we've really never seen a giant increase like that randomly in recent times with United, even when the market's correct. United are one of the big complaints about United in the market has been that even when it's good, United have been bad. Even when it's good, they've been bad. So I'm not sure if that's the case or not. It could be the Lakers deal. The Lakers deal could be having an impact on it. It could be that simple. The valuation of the Lakers being sold for $10 billion or whatever it may be driving the price of sports teams up, and that might make it a better investment, especially when you just had a few weeks earlier the news of the financials. So financials improved, and the Lakers being sold at a massive price certainly could have driven the price up quite a bit. But the only reason I bring it up is that the market was high when there was takeover talk. Because when there's takeover talk, if another offer were to come in from Sir Jim at some point here to buy more of the club, he's going to have to buy Class A shares too. If he has to buy Class A shares, he's going to have to buy them at that high price, like that $32 or something. So if that happens, the market goes up because people are saying, hey, if I buy in at 22, I could sell some of those shares off at 32 to Sir Jim if he comes in. So people buy up on the market rises because people can cash in on those shares. So it can be an indication that somebody thinks an offer is coming to the market. I'm not saying that is purely speculation. No, Sir Jim cannot buy shares on the sly as an owner. It would be highly illegal for him not to disclose. He has to make a public tender offer to the market in order to buy anything off of the market. So, yeah, just some interesting things there. Just some interesting things there as well. But yes, obviously we're getting closer to July 1st, and that, of course, is a reason why. Here we go. Ooh, the Sancho thing doesn't stop. But we're getting closer to July 1st, and that is one of the reasons why more clubs are starting to look to spend. Juventus pushing for Jadon Sancho. Tomorrow, there will be new contacts and a video call with Manchester United to discuss him. Juventus wants to move forward and understand the feasibility of the operation. Here we go. Juventus pushing hard for Sancho too. We are getting so much on Sancho right now. It feels almost impossible that we don't get a sale at this point in time. This is good. Hold on one second. I need to listen to this message. Sorry about that. Yeah, the thing with Juventus is that they're very likely going to be offering something like they might have to put something like they might be trying to get us to take Luis or trying to take Vlahovic, which I'm not necessarily opposed to. The question is, can they agree a deal with Sancho? Now, presumably, this is why this is potentially huge news. Okay, presumably, presumably, they're only moving forward with a deal for Sancho to us because they are okay with the terms being asked for from Jadon Sancho. That was, from my understanding, the terms of why they would approach us more directly is if they felt that they could agree to the terms that Jadon Sancho wanted. Okay? So this could be really big news too. Maybe Juventus have gotten approval from Sancho on the type of package they're offering, and then it opens the door for something else. So, and then it opens the door to buying him from us. So real interesting. We man, we're cooking. We're cooking. Things are like things are moving. Over the last 2 weeks, I know it's been frustrating. I know it's been quiet. I know I've recycled the shit out of everything, and I appreciate you guys sticking with it because I've been telling you, look, it's not that nothing's happening. Day by day, there's little progress, a few more contacts, little explorations, especially on all of the outs to say, hey, let's find deals for these players. They're just moving. And I told you we're going to reach a point where it all tips. And the bucket is full, and then it's like bang, bang, bang. And we're almost there. We're almost to that point where Mbeumo can get done, where Sancho can get done, where Anthony can get done, where all of these things can happen. We're so close. We are so close. We're this close to greatness. We just need it over the line. We are actually close to a true blue clear out, the likes of which we've never actually seen at United before. We're so close. And I know it's been boring, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me on this. Appreciate it very much. It's whoa, relax. It's gonna be okay, No, but I've been positive on the direction that things have been heading. I know we're going the right way, guys. I know we're on the way. When do you think we agree the Mbeumo deal? I think it'll be in the next couple of days. People get too caught up in the instant gratification instead of playing long game. Well, my point was always that, agreed, and my point is always that, July 7th, that's the date. For sales, it's July 1st. That's the date. You have to start counting on the clock, right? Because a lot of clubs are just balancing the books before then. And besides the big clubs in England that have money, a lot of clubs don't have money. Again, I will say this. City and Liverpool are spending last summer's budget. Goes under the radar. They spent fucking nothing last summer. They are spending last summer's budget this summer, right? So they can spend before July 1st. A lot of guys can't. A lot of teams can't. A lot of clubs can't do that. They spent their budget. They need more afterwards. Jesus Christ, Jose. Other clubs are going to be in a different situation where they're going to need to do more. So, yeah. Interesting stuff. So we're moving, man. Okay. Well, can we? For us, I don't think it makes too much of a difference, but it might be that they want to spend the more in July. It might help us. Maybe they feel like, hey, making sure this year, minimizing this year is as good as possible. But again, when you're buying, it doesn't amortize. You don't have to pay too much up front. It's more the fact that you're having, it's less the buying issue and more that a lot of clubs are needing to raise money. So they don't want to spend much because that just makes raising money even harder. And they're trying to balance the books. I mean, we were pretty tight. we were pretty tight last year before July 1st ourselves. We were like you remember that Villa, Newcastle, Southampton, all these clubs were Chelsea. They were just like, I don't remember exact clubs. They were all just like swapping a bunch of kids around to just like barely meet PSR. So were we, not swapping kids and stuff around, but we like were waiting, and then we made PSR by like 2 million and shit. So yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna end it here. It's been a day. It's been a good day. It's been a good stream. We had a lot of info come out during the stream. I try to time them around 2 because a lot of shit comes out around 2 o'clock my time, like 9 o'clock to 10:30. A lot of stories come out around that time. And usually that means I can check some things out and I can follow up on anything I spoke about earlier in the day. So yeah, look, I hope that a lot of stuff we've talked about is starting, a lot of the things I've maintained for some time are starting to come through, the striker chase, the sales that are being worked and kind of pushing forward. A lot of that stuff is finally starting to just come out, it's starting to come forward, and we're moving towards the next phase of our plans here. I'm just checking to see if there's anything else before we end off today. Anything else to talk about? That's it, my dudes. Unless Marzio posts any more bombas for us. So hopefully in the next 24, 48 hours, we get that Mbeumo thing just totally done and wrapped up and out. That would be all right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Throw a like on your way out. Thank you very much. I will see you all later. Okay. Yes, mid-August is a crucial time for Sir Jim and all that. Summarize the live. I did it like 3 minutes ago, Jim. I did it like 3 minutes ago. I did a little summary. Like if you go back like 5 minutes, there's a little summary because I always do that before I kind of start wrapping things up. But here's the summary. Handwriting included. There you go. MB is Mbeumo. There's some math. All right, so throw a like on your way out. I appreciate you all. I will see you tomorrow, okay? Have a good rest of your day. See you.